All right, let's talk about calorie cycling. Most people, sooner or later, start to incorporate calorie cycling into their diet, which in a nutshell means that they eat more calories either on workout days or around their workouts, and fewer calories on days when they don't work out or when they're not temporarily close to a workout in either direction. And calorie cycling is definitely good. It's very helpful. It's something everyone who exercises should be doing. But the way that most people incorporate calorie cycling into their diets is not ineffective. It's okay, but it's not entirely rational. And here's what I mean by that. Suppose you work out in the afternoon or early evening. The way most people recommend calorie cycling, the way it's usually presented, is you have your high calorie days and your low calorie days. There are some variations on this, like high, medium, and low, or high and low plus a cheat day and a fast day, but it's usually high and low, that simple. The way most calorie cycling plans would have you eat is on your workout days, every meal that day is bigger on workout days and smaller on rest days. So if you're working out in the afternoon, you're eating a bigger breakfast and a bigger lunch on your workout days, and a smaller breakfast and a smaller lunch on your rest days, as well as, of course, a bigger dinner. But really, it does not make sense that you would be eating a bigger breakfast and a bigger lunch if your workout is later in the day. It makes sense that you would be eating a bigger dinner because that comes after the workout, and you could argue that you should start eating high calorie immediately before the workout if you're having a meal right before the workout. But it doesn't make sense that meals that are significantly earlier in the day before your workout should be sized based on whether you work out that day. They really should be sized based on whether you worked out the day before. After you work out, there is an anabolic window, a time period during which the muscles that you exercised are are signaling growth, are primed to take up more nutrients so that they can grow. And the duration of this anabolic window is usually between 24 and 72 hours. For intermediate trainees, it's usually going to be about 36 to 48 hours. Which means that if you work out and then the next day when you have breakfast and lunch, you are still in an anabolic window from that workout. So what you should do is not eat based on whether you worked out, whether you are going to work out that day, but you should eat based on how long it has been since your last workout. So what that means is, in practice, there should be 4 types of days on your calorie cycling plan. There should be workout days that follow a workout days that follow a rest days that follow a workout day, and maybe occasionally rest days that follow a rest day. I don't recommend taking a lot of back-to-back rest days, but it happens sometimes. So in my example, I work out in the afternoon, and I try to eat 4 meals a day: breakfast, lunch, a dinner around 5 right after my workout, and a second dinner around 10 p.m., 9 or 10-ish. So if you're having 4 meals a day, your workout is between meal number 2 and 3, then meals 3 and 4 should be bigger on workout days and smaller on non-workout days. But meals 1 and 2 should be bigger on the day after a workout day, smaller on a rest day, regardless of whether you're working out that day. So as you can tell, this makes a bigger difference the later in the day you work out. If you're working out first thing in the morning, then what I recommend is really not that different from the standard way of calorie cycling. But if you are working out anytime after noon, this makes a big difference, and you will get much better results if you calorie cycle according to the anabolic window, according to how long it has been since your last workout for any given meal, rather than workout days versus rest days. Now, in terms of how hard you should calorie cycle, that depends on how advanced you are. So as I mentioned, the anabolic window after a workout gets shorter as you get more advanced. So it could be about 72 hours when you first start working out, or if you're untrained, maybe even a bit longer. And if you're very advanced, it gets down to 24 hours, sometimes even less. For most intermediate trainees, again, 36 to 48 hours. And what I would do with this information is, first off, I would not make it more complicated than what I just said, which is, did I work out today? Did I work out yesterday? I wouldn't start calorie cycling based on whether you had another workout 2 days ago. That's getting too complicated for too little upside, and you're kind of just splitting hairs at that point. But what you should do is calorie cycle harder as you get more advanced, meaning that if you're a novice, the difference between a high calorie and a low calorie meal might be about 20%. The high calorie meal might be about 20% bigger than the low calorie meal. And if you're very advanced, it could be 100% or more, meaning the high calorie meal is at least twice as big as the low calorie meal, maybe even a bigger differential. So as you get to the intermediate or even the advanced stage, you might be dropping transiently into a kind of a protein-sparing modified fast where you eat very high protein but small meals of like 200 or 300 calories for 1 or 2 meals at a stretch. If it has been more than 24-ish hours after a workout, 24 to 36 maybe. So the more advanced you get, the harder you need to calorie cycle. So very advanced people might, in many cases, like almost half their meals are those kind of protein-sparing modified fast meals, but then a significant number of their meals are, big, high carb, not exactly cheat meals because they're not having junk food, but they are very big, high calorie, high carb meals. So the more advanced you get, the more wildly you need to swing between high and low carb. But again, based on the anabolic window and not just, I feel like having a cheat meal. And the last thing I want to touch on here is the 2 approaches to dieting that are effective, which are the macros approach and the ad libitum approach. The macros approach is, of course, if it fits your macros, you have a target number of calories per day and a target number of grams of protein, fat, and carbs each day that you try to hit across your allowance for that day. And, if you're a little more advanced, you might have specific targets for each meal too, which you probably would want to do if you're calorie cycling based on the anabolic window post-workout. And if it fits your macros is great, although you do need to make healthy food choices to get vitamins and minerals too. So it's not an excuse to eat donuts and protein shakes and not, good real food. And then the other approach, ad libitum, is you don't count numbers, you don't count calories, you don't count grams, but you do have very clear rules about what you can eat with which meal. So to go back to my example of if you're working out in the afternoon, an ad libitum approach would be for the morning and for breakfast and lunch, you are only allowed to eat lean meats, eggs, Greek yogurt, non-starchy vegetables, avocados, a little bit of fruit, but nothing very high in calories and particularly nothing very carb heavy. And then for the 2 dinners that come after the workout each day, you are allowed to eat all of that plus more sugary fruits, higher carb stuff like rice, potatoes, maybe sourdough bread, beans on workout days, but not if it's a rest day. And then if it's the day after a workout day, you might also add some more carbs in with breakfast because you are in that anabolic window. So those are the 2 approaches. You can either have strict rules about what you eat but not count how much you eat, or you can have strict rules about how much you eat but not, have very strict rules about what you eat. And really what I would recommend is combining both of these, but making one of them primary and one of them secondary. So if you want to make the macros approach your primary approach, what you would do is have strict macro and calorie counts for each day and each meal, and then some general guidelines for what kind of stuff you're supposed to eat each meal that you kind of play fast and loose with. So If you're not really supposed to have bread with lunch, it's okay if you do have a little bit once in a while, as long as you still hit your macros. And then if you do the opposite route, if you choose to make ad libitum primary and macro counting as your secondary method, which is what I do, then you have strict rules for what you can eat with which meal that you don't deviate from very much at all. And then you just try and estimate calories and macros. You count them if you can, if you're eating something that has a label on it, but you don't obsessively weigh all your food. You really just you eyeball it and take a rough estimate, and that works all right because you are eating in a way that you're eating high satiety foods in the morning and low satiety foods and more of them later in the day. And as a final note, this A becomes more important the later in the day you're working out, and B, it becomes more important the more advanced you get. So when you're first starting out, you don't even necessarily need to calorie cycle. And then when you start calorie cycling, you can do it the traditional way of basing it on whether you work out that day or not, and that'll be good enough for a while. But sooner or later, you need to start incorporating what I'm talking about here, calorie cycling on a more rational basis based on how primed your muscles are to take up nutrients and to grow based on how long it's been since you've worked them.